Usually at this time of the year, I like to talk about the fact that the end of the year and right at the beginning of the new year is a kind of liminal space, an interlude, a time of in-between. It's a time when we can reflect on the past without being quite ready to move into the future of a new year. But this year, I felt something different. Just before the new year, I felt like I was in the starting gate and on high alert, waiting for the signal of the ball to drop in Times Square. I know that not everyone felt this way, but for me, the election in November caused a sense of grief. You might even say despair on some level. Maybe I give politics an outsized role in my life, and it kind of fills my vision and distorts my perspective. Maybe that's happened for you at this time, or maybe some other time in your life. In any case, I knew I couldn't stay there for long, that indulging those feelings wasn't going to get me anywhere. So I made up my mind that I would find a path out of that darkness, and I would follow it. And you've been with me along on that journey. I thought about the Japanese art of kintsugi as a metaphor for healing, where the artist repairs broken pottery with a gold lacquer, making the piece more beautiful in the process. And then it helped that the winter holidays were soon upon us, and joy came back into my heart because those holidays are my favorites. And then I decided that in the new year that I would move into resolve. So I spent a little time examining the word resolve and found that its origins comes from the Latin verb meaning to loosen, thaw, or melt. So appropriate for overcoming the challenges of the winter months. But I'm talking about using the word resolve as a noun. That means to be firm and determined, as in a New Year's resolution, or to declare a formal decision has been made. My first formal decision was to resolve not to be buffeted around by the chaos of national news, and I have continued to be firm in that resolve. Next, I resolved that, as far as I am able, I will do something each day in this new year to make the world a better place. And I know so many of you are already doing that. This idea came to me from an interview Francis Ford Coppola had with Stephen Colbert. Coppola believes in we human beings, that actually we are a species of geniuses, that we can solve any problem that is put before us, from inventing the wheel to overcoming climate change. He said, let it not be said that we reduced ourselves to be brutes, but instead that the human being shall rightly be called a great miracle, that the future can be glorious, and we can leave a wonderful world for our children and grandchildren. So Coppola suggested that in the new year, instead of saying, I'm going to give up smoking or I'm going to lose weight, that we ask this question: is this the society that we are living in, the only one available to us? And the answer to that question will inevitably be no. We all know that this world can go in any number of directions, and as Coppola said, each one of us has the power to make it a better place. But it's a cliche, of course, that New Year's resolutions don't often last very long. So I'm wondering how I could keep the fire of my resolve burning, yet not burning out, over the course of a few days or weeks. Did you know that New Year's resolutions date back 4,000 years? In 2000 BCE, the Babylonians celebrated their New Year on the vernal equinox. That's about March 21st. They held what was called the Akitu Festival, and it lasted for 12 days at the start of their planting season. What was their resolution? Being an agricultural society, they promised to return borrowed farm equipment. Oh, and they also crowned their king and made promises to pay their debts. But the farm equipment was really the big concern. So if you have any borrowed farm equipment, now would be the time to return it. It wasn't until the Romans instituted the Julian calendar in 46 BCE that the new year moved to January 1st. The Romans would offer sacrifices and promises of good behavior to Janus, from which we get the name January, of course. Janus, the two-faced god who simultaneously looked back into the past and forward into the future, the god of new beginnings. By the 17th century, the cliche of breaking a New Year's resolution was so common that people made fun of the whole idea. In 1813, a Boston newspaper writes, "There are multitudes of people accustomed to receive injunctions of New Year resolutions who will sin the whole month of December with a serious determination of beginning the new year with new resolve and new behavior." I don't suppose any of you did that. We have such high hopes for our new beginnings, don't we? Now, perhaps you think January 5th is too late for making a New Year's resolution, but rest assured that we can begin at any moment to begin anew. But can the brilliance of our renewed sense of purpose really light the way to achieving our goals? Here's a story that inspired me to rethink the entire concept of resolve and resolution. There were two brothers. I'll call them Lincoln and August. They live 1,000 miles apart. One day, Lincoln called August and said, "Let's commit to doing some form of exercise every day, anything you want, but we do it rain or shine, even if we're sick or traveling or busy. And we'll send each other a picture of ourselves doing it." They agreed. It went on for a while. Then in February, Lincoln said, "How about we do 300 push-ups every day for the month of March, come rain or shine?" Then Lincoln upped the ante, and eventually they got up to 1,500 push-ups a day. OMG, that's 45,000 push-ups a month. Now, I'm not suggesting we all take the push-up challenge, but for those brothers, it did several things that are relevant for us. They made a commitment. They had a daily practice, so they couldn't put it off till tomorrow. They had a buddy system and built-in accountability into their resolution, sending pictures of themselves doing the task every day. They also kept challenging themselves so it didn't get boring. They got pretty darn fit, of course, but more importantly, despite the miles between them, because they were in regular contact, August and Lincoln grew closer together as brothers. Here's another story. Benjamin Hardy is an organizational psychologist and best-selling author who tells the story of a man who had a lifelong problem that kept him isolated. His brother convinced him to go to a motivational conference. There, the man realized that he had been telling himself a negative story for many years about who he was. And then, as a result of the conference, and especially the follow-up recordings that he listened to over and over and over again, he developed a new story, a story about who he was going to be. From the new story, he was able to change his outlook on life and build a new identity. And that changed his behavior. To change our behavior is not a matter of willpower, which is finite and easily depleted, according to Susan Pierce Thompson, a brain and cognitive scientist. On the other hand, she writes, inner resolve is a deep commitment, renewed daily, to be unstoppable. By consistent daily actions, we build integrity with ourselves and reinforce the new story that we are telling ourselves. Are you telling yourself a story that isn't serving you? Is it time for a new story? And our third story is one about a boy named Stephen. He was very bright, but he lacked focus. Today, he might be diagnosed with an attention deficit disorder. But in his junior year of high school, he figured out that if he studied for just 5 or 10 minutes and then went to shoot some hoops or play a game and then came back, he would enjoy his studying and that he would improve his grades, which he did. He became a straight-A student. Later on, as an adult, he was living and working in London, where he walked 45 minutes across Hyde Park each way to and from work. While walking, he would usually listen to music on his iPod, but he decided that he wanted to learn German. But where would he find the time? He was a busy businessman. So he downloaded a German language program onto his iPod, and to make sure that he wouldn't lose his resolve, he deleted all his music. Now he was listening to German lessons for 7.5 hours a week. Within 10 months, he had listened to the whole series through 3 times. And to top it off, he went to Berlin for a 16-day intensive German course. When his wife and children met him there, they were shocked to hear him conversing fluently with the locals. The idea is that marginal improvements, such as to study habits or other behaviors, if they are consistently made over time, can have a significant effect. Reading about that, I wondered, what marginal improvements could I make? Can you think of any marginal changes that could make long-term impact on your life? Maybe you're already making some. On December 21st, the winter solstice, I spoke at a church in Laguna Woods as part of the longest night commemoration for all those who had died unsheltered in Orange County. I was overwhelmed as the names of 386 people were read. At that time, we were on track to lose 400 people by the end of 2024. That's double the number from 2019. Shocking. Homelessness has been on my heart since returning to Orange County in 2017 and seeing the encampments along the Santa Ana River. I've been thinking that maybe that's what I need to focus on in 2025. Can I make a difference? even if it's only a marginal improvement? I don't know, but I've started, and I'm resolved to explore the situation further. And I'm determined to start telling myself a new and hope-filled story that keeps my high resolve right in front of me. I'm hoping we can, each of us, tell ourselves that kind of a story. And in so doing, we can move forward into the new year, resolute in our goals. So may it be.